Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us on a Thursday. Of course, we have to report on, the breaking news and the sad news. Now we're learning in this high school shooting in California, one patient has died. We've also learned that the shooter is in custody, injured. That's all the information we have at this point. And of those that were hurt, at least 2 now are in critical condition. This is Saugus High School in Santa Clarita, about 40 miles outside of Los Angeles. We will, of course, keep you monitored on this situation. Our producer, Jason Stein, is in studio. He's from Wisconsin. A very interesting story coming out of that area. So, Jason, we have a special guest on the line. Before we get to him, set the scene for what's going on out there.
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Terrible.
Well, I keep tabs on my home state of Wisconsin. There's some crazy politics. Always something new coming out of the Capitol. The latest, for a little bit of background here, we had Governor Scott Walker for years and years in office. He was voted out of office recently, last year. We have a new governor, Democrat Tony Evers. Okay, Tony Evers decided to do away with Scott Walker's tradition of calling the Capitol Christmas tree a Christmas tree, and Governor Evers declared it be called the holiday tree. And I think he went a step further and even offered students the chance to come and put some science-themed ornaments on it. But we'll have to ask our guests. But anyway, so here's the thing. So you got a Democratic governor calling it a Christmas tree, a holiday tree. Republicans who run the Assembly and the Senate in that state are very upset by this, very upset that they changed the name. They passed a bill, I believe yesterday or the day before, declaring that the holiday tree be called a Christmas tree. This is what they spent their time on. They are bickering. Lawmakers in Wisconsin are bickering over a tree. One lawmaker even went one step further, proposed a bill that the week of Thanksgiving now in Wisconsin be declared Bible Week, and it passed 86-9 in the Assembly. I could have some of my facts wrong, so let's get our guest on the line. This guy represents me, used to represent me, I should say, when I lived in Milwaukee. It's Jonathan Brostoff, Democrat Assemblyman from Wisconsin.
Yeah, so let's get him on the line right now. It's Democrat Representative Jonathan Brostoff, and we wanted to get his take on this whole situation. Jonathan, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. And, yeah, what an awful story out of California. Just day after day, it feels like, we're hearing more and more about these school shootings, mass shootings, and acts of domestic terrorism.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up with us because you made some interesting statements that I want to get to. Listen, all you guys wanted to do out there was call a Christmas tree a holiday tree, and a lot of Republicans are up in arms over it. And this is the statement you made. You said that these Republicans, instead of doing something substantive and helpful, they're trying to politicize a tree. And I believe you also said if they really want to do something, if they want to help Christians, they should pass gun control bills to keep them from getting killed if they really want to get something done. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, exactly. Basically, we have in Wisconsin, like unfortunately in the rest of the country, we have some serious issues with gun violence prevention that we're not unfortunately doing enough because we're being strangled by our Republican lawmakers who in turn are completely under the control of the NRA. And so this year we've spent more time discussing the name of a tree than debating how we can prevent gun violence in Wisconsin. Now this is after we had tons of people from groups like Moms Demand Action and for Wisconsinites against gun violence.
Now, Jonathan, I don't mean to laugh, but it's pathetic, and I'm kind of on your side on this one. This is ridiculous. You're right. I mean, we're talking about the name of a tree. Yeah, I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, and we've literally spent more legislative floor time on that than on gun violence prevention. Now, this is also in the wake of the governor calling for a special session. You can call on the legislature to come in and do something, and they did not even spend a minute discussing the special session topic of gun violence prevention. Instead, they want to spend all this floor time instead of a substantive issue on the name of a tree because instead, what it is, and it's a little more insidious than you're making it out to be, too. I'm going to give it to you straight. What's going on is we basically have a fake manufactured crisis in order to distract and to beef up what the Republicans cynically call the quote-unquote culture war and not do anything to actually help people's lives, make working Wisconsinites and people in Wisconsin better off economically, healthcare, and very importantly,
Gotcha.
preventing more gun violence.
So let me.
And I also think it's quite ironic because this is coming on the heels of our Republican Party in the legislature and led by Robin Voss specifically denying access for month after month for 8 months to one of our colleagues who was a quadriplegic because a drunk driver hit him and killed his family and permanently injured him. But he went on to become a lawmaker and a lawyer and very accomplished.
Good for
He's
him.
a great guy, but he needed certain ways to properly access his job, such as being able to call in for a committee as they do in our other legislative chamber, which the speaker took
Jonathan,
away.
That's
not very Christian to me. That's not like the way that a religious person would behave.
Well, I would agree.
They want to talk all this religion and walk away from it when it comes to anything policy-wise.
Sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to get in a few more questions here if I can. And if you're just joining us, we're speaking with Democratic Assemblyman from Wisconsin, Jonathan Brostoff, and they've turned the Christmas tree name into the holiday tree name. I'll be honest with you, I don't care what it's called. It could be called the Jesus tree, the holiday tree, the Christmas tree. I really don't care. But I want to talk to you a little bit about a Republican representative in your neck of the woods. His name is Paul Tittl. Now, Paul Tittl has put in, correct me if I'm wrong, some sort of law put in place to change the name Thanksgiving week into Bible week. Can you tell me? And by the way, Tittl is going to be joining us, and he's going to be able to defend himself coming up here in a few minutes. But, Jonathan, what do you make of this?
Well, Paul's a friend of mine, and we talk regularly, and he's been, someone I've worked together on issues including deaf rights and deaf access. But on this, I mean, it's basically a resolution that is completely symbolic, and this happens from time to time. There'll be in honor of a sports team, for example, or a cheesemaker or something else that we want to highlight in Wisconsin, and this is what he chose to highlight with it. And again, I mean, I have no problem with, Paul on a personal level, but what I would like to see from him and the other Republican leaders on the other side of the aisle is to stop dragging their feet on issues like gun violence prevention, which Wisconsinites, over 80%, are screaming for because people are literally dying, and they want to spend, they want to waste our time politicizing stuff and trying to make hay out of nothing and formulate this, fake culture war instead of actually saving lives, and that gets under my skin. And it's not about one particular leader. It's the whole Republican Party right now, and it's all the Republican politicians who, unfortunately, are being totally strangled out by the NRA. And I've talked to some personally, and they've told me, we don't necessarily agree with these policies. We'd like to do something. But if we act, we're going to get an A- as opposed to an A from our NRA grade, and that's going to mean we can't win another primary, so I can't do what I'd like to do. And that's the unfortunate truth of what's going on in politics right now.
Well, listen, Jonathan, I appreciate the fact that you're giving your side of this. You're welcome to come back on our show anytime. We want to hear both sides, so Representative Paul Tittl will be up next year. But, Jonathan, thank you so much for stating your case. We appreciate it very much, and we'll have you on again soon, okay?
Great. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jason, for reaching out.
Yeah, sure. Appreciate
thanks a lot, Jonathan.
Appreciate it. Okay, so now that we've heard that side, now we're going to hear the other side. So joining us right now on the line is Representative Paul Tittl, who is a Republican, and he is one of those that put forth, changing the name of Thanksgiving week to Bible week, and he joins us on the line right now. Mr. Tittl, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you guys?
Doing good.
Doing great, Paul.
So as you know, we just had Democrat Jonathan Brostoff on the line. Now we want to hear your take on this. I would imagine you heard the interview. First of all, let me ask you this. Why do you want to change the name Thanksgiving week to Bible week? Give me your reasons for that.
Well, it's actually a resolution, and it was just encouraging people to read their Bible. We found that back in 1941, a Democrat, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, actually passed the first resolution that declared the week of Thanksgiving as National Read Your Bible Week. And we just thought, we get people more back to their roots, get them back to their faith, and get them reading their Bible. There is, so much turmoil in the world, as you know. You guys do the news, and it's a great a great thing. It doesn't harm anyone.
Okay, so let me respond to that. I agree with you. There is a lot of turmoil in the world. Sadly, as you may or may not be aware, there was another school shooting in California this morning. How is reading the Bible going to end school shootings?
Well, I'm not sure that I have all the answers for ending all the school shootings. I know California has some of the most strictest gun control laws, and yet they still have some of the greatest, most horrific shootings. And so I don't know that you're going to just necessarily remove evil from the world, but getting people closer to God is not going to hurt anything.
I don't necessarily think getting people closer to God is going to hurt anything, and I would never make that statement. Although I would make the statement that religion in general, millions and millions of people have died because of their faith and because of their religion. Sadly, and that's not your fault. That's not any good man or woman's fault. But I will say, let's talk about what Jonathan Brostoff just said last segment, and he said that he believes that you're not taking. He says he respects you, but he says, and you're a friend. But he says he doesn't feel like you're taking enough time to change some of the gun laws in your own state. Instead, you're more focused on changing the name Thanksgiving Week to Bible Week. What would be your response to that?
Well, we are capable of multitasking. Some of the proposals that have come forth have been not necessarily good support of our Second Amendment rights. I believe in the Second Amendment. And by the way, I've never gotten a dime from the NRA, so I don't understand where people are thinking that we're beholden to the NRA.
Not you, but I think the president is. I think the president is absolutely beholden to. I'm not saying you are.
Yeah, but that's what we get lumped in. I had a listening session back in my hometown recently, and a guy says, "Oh yeah, how much money did you get from the NRA?" I haven't got a dime. So,
and you know what? Listen, I applaud you. Listen, Paul, I applaud you for that. But sadly, as you know, there are many other Republicans out there not like you that are accepting money from the NRA. So I applaud you, and I respect your opinions on that. And to be honest with you, I respect you more for that. And I think I respect your opinion more than many of those others that are in the pockets of the NRA. But let me ask you this. A lot of Republicans think that Democrats want to take the Second Amendment away and want to take all your guns away. And I could be the first to tell you, I've never heard one Democrat in office say they want to take all your guns away. Beto O'Rourke might be the extreme, and he wants to take all of your assault weapons away, which I think is ridiculous. That's never going to happen. We all could agree on that. But wouldn't you agree that in these cases of some of these mass shootings and many of these mass shootings, some of these weapons probably shouldn't be sold on the streets? They're weapons of war that should be used by our military and by our law enforcement. Why should someone be able to buy a weapon that is only used for one purpose and made for one purpose, and that's mass casualties?
Well, I don't know that they're necessarily made for one purpose and used for one purpose, because I know some people that in Wisconsin, we have a big hunting tradition here in Wisconsin, use some of them very same guns for hunting deer, coyotes, whatever.
No, and I agree. Maybe I misspoke. I'm not saying these guns are only used for one purpose. Obviously, they're not, thank God. But what I'm saying is these assault weapons were first made for one reason only, and that was for mass casualties in war. And that's why I say, why do these guns need to be sold on the streets?
Well, the other thing is I got to ask, and I think you had it spot on. When you were talking earlier, I was listening, and you were talking about, there's been signs of problems of people, and people don't say stuff.
Sure.
And people need to say stuff. Almost everyone, even going, like you said, going back to Columbine, there is stuff that it's kind of like a science. Like, wait a minute. Somebody should notice. Somebody needs to say something. It's almost like when you're talking about terrorism.
Sure.
To see something, say something. I think we need to get to that, because if you
Paul, I agree, but why can't we do both? Why can't we do both?
Well, I would tell you, again, California, some of the strictest gun laws in the world, yet they're still happening. What is the next step then?
There are not proper red flag laws, or at least not tough enough red flag laws in place in California. Yes, there are stricter gun laws in general. I agree with you, but those red flag laws, in my personal opinion, need to be tougher.
Yeah. Now, in which state would have the best red flag law? I guess that I would ask you about.
I wouldn't know which state has the best red flag law. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not going to lie. What I can tell you is that in many of these school shootings, and I will go back to the Parkland school shooting, when the police officers are called to that young man's house close to 80 times, and yet he's still allowed to buy a weapon. Something is wrong in our society.
Definitely something wrong. And we as Republicans a few years ago actually did something to fix more of our background checks in the state of Wisconsin to try to make sure that mental health is fed into the background system, because I chair the mental health committee in Wisconsin, and Jonathan is on that committee with me as well. And I will tell you that there is some mental health problems with people that are doing this. It's not normal for them, for anybody to be doing that type of shooting.
Of course. We agree on that, and we probably agree with more things than we disagree with. If you're just joining us with us on the line right now, he is a representative there in Wisconsin. His name is Paul Tittl, a Republican. All right, let's go back to this Thanksgiving thing real quick, because that's the main reason why we wanted to have you on.
Sure.
Listen, I've never read the Bible before. It's not because I'm not a Christian. It's just because I just don't care. That's just me. And I know you would disagree with me, and a lot of people would. I'm not an atheist. I do believe that there's a God out there, but I think there are better, and again, this is just my personal opinion. I think there are better things you can do with your time than read the Bible. That's just my personal opinion. But I would never take that right away from you. I think everybody is entitled to their faith, to their religion. What I don't like about religion is people that push it on others. That I don't like. Hence the separation of church and state. I don't like the fact that we have a vice president that is so anti-gay. And listen, if you don't agree with gay marriage, that's fine. I don't mind that. But his wife works in a school where they don't allow homosexuals to go to school there or work there, and I just think that's disgusting. Again, that's just my opinion. But let's go back to this Bible Week thing. Everybody calls it Thanksgiving, with all due respect. It's this national annual holiday, right? And generally, it's modeled on, correct me if I'm wrong, the 1621 harvest feast shared by the English colonists and the Pilgrims. So why do you want to change it to Bible Week when there are probably a good portion of the population out there that do not read the Bible?
Well, and you know what? And that's fine. And that's what makes this country the greatest place to live, because we do have that freedom of religion and a freedom to believe or a freedom not to believe. And that's why our founding fathers and the Pilgrims actually came here way back when, so that they could actually express their own beliefs or non-beliefs if they have it. And so I am not opposed to anybody, and I totally respect if you don't want to read the Bible. That is perfectly fine with me, and I'm okay with that. But I will tell you that it's very important to me, and it's important to a lot of people. And so we're just putting it out there. Again, this isn't a law. It was just a simple resolution. And I'm kind of amazed at how much people are grabbing a hold of this. And again, this is not something, whether you read the New or Old Testament, I don't care. There's, throughout history, many religions, including Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, have acknowledged the various biblical texts. There's a lot of little different sayings that you may even have said them in your own time, like going the extra mile. Pride becomes before the fall. Seeing the writing on the wall, a fly in the ointment, falling by the wayside, at our wits' end, and something doing something in the 11th hour.
So let me ask you this. This was passed on behalf of everyone in the state by the government. I think you made a very clear statement. This is important to you, and I'm not saying you're the only one. Obviously, it's important to others as well. But again, it's what I talk about all the time, the separation between church and state. You have the right to believe in whatever you want to believe in, but why?
Absolutely.
But and again, you're a born-again Christian. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Why not just believe in what you believe in? And in your home, if you want son, daughter, wife, whatever the case may be, let's not call it Thanksgiving week. Let's call it Bible week. But why make everybody else call it that?
Well, I guess I understand it a little bit more in a little bit different way, is that because of what Jesus Christ did for me and what his death on the cross is so important to me, and I don't want to force anybody on anything, but I want to share that with other people because it is so important to me.
But isn't there a difference between, and I respect that very much so, but isn't there a difference between sharing it and changing a name, a state law, or whatever you want to call it, put in place to change Thanksgiving into Bible Week? Sharing it and doing that, to me, are two completely different things.
Well, actually, we didn't sign it into law. All we did was pass a resolution saying it's National Read Your Bible Week, the week of Thanksgiving. And we didn't change Thanksgiving. We didn't change anything. We're just saying it's not, hey, get back to reading your Bible if you choose to, whether it be Old or New Testament, whether it be the Quran or whatever. I know there was a lot of talk about the Christmas tree, and I know Jonathan brought up a little bit about the Christmas tree. But, I would fight very strongly if somebody in our capital, we have a menorah, we have a Festivus pole, we have a Christmas tree. If somebody if the governor said to us, I don't want that menorah called the menorah anymore because it's too Jewish. I want it to be called the candelabra, okay? I would fight tooth and nail for my Jewish friends, like Jonathan, to make sure that does not change because that is part of his rich history.
Okay, and that's fair, but I will respond by saying this. That's a Jewish holiday. I would not say Thanksgiving is a Christian holiday. I would think Thanksgiving is a holiday that includes all religions. I think what you're talking about with a menorah and when you're talking about Hanukkah or whatever you're talking about, that is specific to the Jewish faith. Unfortunately, Representative Paul Tittl, I am up against a hard break. I am out of town, but I really do appreciate your side. I appreciate you stating your case, and I love to hear both sides of the issue, and I think you did it very eloquently. I respect your opinion, and thank you so much for taking some time to join us. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, and say hello to Jason Stein for me.
I will. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. All right, there you go. Paul Tittl. Listen, I like hearing both sides. I'm not a religious person. I'm not going to fake it and say I am. I'm not. But people are entitled to their own opinions. I just don't like it when religion is forced onto others, whether that's an ordinance or changing the name of a holiday. I think it's ridiculous. That's just my opinion. But we appreciate his opinion, and we appreciate both Jonathan coming on and Paul Tittl as well. I like saying that name, by the way. That's a cool name, Paul Tittl. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hear the news with John Schaefer. You're not going to believe what Kellyanne Conway did on CNN. We'll get to that coming up next.